Sacrilege there. All right, for 15, we're going to plug 0 in for x, and we get e to the 0 is
0.
1, and 1 minus 0 is
0.
1, and 1 minus 1 is 0, and we have 0 over 0, so we can L'Hopital this. So you go and you do the derivative of the top, and what's e to the x plus 1, because distribute the negative, all over 1, and then you do the limit as x approaches 0, and you get 2, because e to the 0 is 1 plus 1 is 2. There you go. 88. Can we L'Hopital this?
No.
Why not?
Because the key says -1. Can you do 88 for x?
What is cosine of pi?
1. -1.
Negative 1. What's the natural log of 1?
0.
0. Not L'Hopitalable. So, no. No L'Hopital. I was getting there.
You forgot the S.
Yeah. Why is your eye so tall?
Because I was starting to make a T.
Wait, is
there
there
an S?
You forgot the S.
Oh
It's
my
the
god.
hospital, not the.
Yeah, I agree
No,
with
it's
It's
I thought it was a
hospital.
hospital.
no, it's not.
You spelled a hospital all day yesterday. You wrote hospital all day yesterday.
Right.
I was so confused. I was like, where's
Did
the
I
hospital?
really?
You always write an S.
Yes, you do.
At the end.
Yes, he does. Go over the
Yeah.
notes yesterday. Hospital, 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 hospital.
It's
No,
not.
it's
Mr.
been
You write an S.
hospital.
You write hospital.
I swear.
L'Hopital apostrophe S is in. This is the
No.
rule that was made up by
No.
L'Hopital.
You're having a cigarette gaslight me right now.
I very, very well have,
I don't ever remember you writing
but
hospital.
that was wrong. I don't remember doing that.
No.
I still don't
You're
remember.
getting
We're
gaslit.
getting
You put
gaslit.
hospital the entire.
Somebody's getting gaslit. I think it's me. Why does it not hit me?
Can I still get the word point for the apostrophe?
No. I wasn't done writing it.
There's an apostrophe in it though. Can you do 88 part F?
Yeah.
Oh,
Do. All right. So 88F. Same.
I know.
Do we want to L'Hopital this, or are we allowed to L'Hopital this?
Yes, we can.
And we have 1 plus x times the natural log of x minus 1.
I let him X times X.
And then,
All day yesterday.
all right. So we have 1 plus 1 times, what's the natural log of 1? 0 minus 1. On the bottom, natural log of 1 is 0 times 1 minus 1. So 0 minus 1 is negative 1. That's 0. This is 1 minus 1, 0 over 0. So yes, you can L'Hopital
Oh,
it.
shit, I do have a picture of the word yes. My bad. We're-
Yeah, I just found the parentheses.
Oh wait, so sorry people at home, that's what the F was for 88F. I moved the camera before I sent it.
Wait, the board has to,
Do anything where it says hospital.
I copied down the notes word for word. Hospital.
Maybe if you recorded it yesterday, like you were
Hospital.
supposed to, we'd be able to.
I think you're just.
I messed up.
being there. I don't know. Something's happening in your brain.
43!
Oh.
So,
I think you made the term hospital so many times you actually thought
To
you
be fair, I
The
don't think
hospital,
Mr. Edgar
the
wrote
hospital.
L'Hopital on the board.
I'm pretty confident that I did, but I could be wrong.
Wait, someone should have recorded.
No, I think we're
I didn't record it.
don't make those of the situation.
I forgot to hit record.
Bro.
43!
Okay.
Yes.
First of all,
Well, you're
what can you do in the integrand?
Cancel.
Cancel out what?
Ln and T.
Boom.
Yeah.
So this is just the integral from 1 to x of 4t minus 1 dt all over x.
Oh. What?
If you take this integral, I suppose you could do the integral actually, but if you did the integral, as x is going out to infinity, what's this integral going to go towards? It's going to go towards infinity, because what is this thing?
Or it's a very.
Like,
Polynomial.
this is a line, right? That's a line, and so this is the area under the line, And because that line has what kind of slope?
4.
Positive, 4,
Okay.
but positive, so this is this line. And this integral represents the area underneath the line above the x-axis. If x is heading out towards infinity, this area is only going to continue to grow forever, and the area is going to head towards an infinite area. So that integral is heading towards infinity. X is obviously heading towards infinity, so we can L'Hopital this. Now, differentiating that. What's the derivative of an integral? Yeah, it basically just gives you the stuff inside and you swap the x in. So when you differentiate this integral, and this is an especially nice one because it's just x. It's not x squared or sine x or something weird. We don't have to even differentiate the x and do chain rule. We can just say the derivative kills the integral. You trade out the variable, t for x, and that's the derivative of the numerator. The derivative of the bottom is 1. And then the limit as x heads to infinity is infinity. Because numerator is going to infinity divided by 1 is still infinity. So that's what's going on with 43. So that's a second fundamental theorem of calculus sort of thing with differentiating the integral. But now you know. And you see, oh, that's not actually terrible. 47. Sine of, well, this is infinity. And then it's a sine of 0. So this is infinity times 0. So, to try to make this less bad, we can rewrite it as what? Yeah. So we can turn multiplication into division. Instead of multiplying by x, let's divide by 1 over x. And now we would have sine of 0 is 0. So this is 0 over 0. We can L'Hopital it now. So take the derivative of the numerator. What's the derivative of the inside? Now you're doing chain rule. Negative 1 over x squared. What's the derivative of sine? Cosine of 1 over x. So derivative of the inside times the derivative of the outside. Keep the innards the same. Denominator, derivative of 1 over x is, and then die. And you're left with cosine of 1 over x. What's cosine of 0? So that's, well, that's 1. Follow-up comments on 43 or 47? All right. Pass. All right, 7. We'll come back to it. If we just plug in 6, we get 16 plus 0 over 0. We can L'Hopital this. You could also do this, it says using the techniques from chapters 1 and 3. So you could do this by multiplying by the conjugate and rationalizing the numerator. If you don't like that, do L'Hopital, you're allowed to because it's 0 over 0. And what's the derivative of the upstairs? 1 over 2 x plus 10 to the, and were you meaning this? Yeah, okay. And then what's the derivative of the denominator? 1. So now you can plug 6 in for x, and you get 1 over 2 root, what, 16? So that's 1/8? Okay. So if you did it the other way, right at the beginning, you would be multiplying by the conjugate of the numerator. So that's root x plus 10 plus 4 over root x plus 10 plus 4. You can shoot at the numerator. It would clean up to just x minus 6, and then that would cancel out that x minus 6. And you'd be left with 1 over the conjugate, and you end up in the same place. 31. Let's avoid L'Hopital's rule. Who wins in the denominator? Square root of x squared. So square root of x squared beats up 4. And as x is going to infinity, 4 becomes unimportant. If you have infinity dollars, you're not going to miss or care about 4. So you can think of this as basically being x over the square root of x squared. What is the square root of x squared?
Absolute value.
Absolute value of x. Since x is heading to positive infinity, these divide and make positive 1. If we were heading to negative infinity, then we would have a negative over a positive of the same value, and it would be negative 1. Yes?
I thought we should have.
But when it's the same exact thing, like this is x over x. So every value along the way towards infinity is the same. It's just this is an absolute value and this is. But otherwise, it's an x over an x. And x divided by x is always 1. So it's the same infinity in both cases. It's like we know that the infinities are the same because the expression is the same.
It's just like, but it's just like in it, like it makes sense to like how can I like justify like doing it. If that makes sense. Like, I was looking at this yesterday, I was like, I understand, but like, I wasn't gonna make that reach myself.
Okay. Yeah, you can do that. It's the same sort of thing as like if you have 5x squared plus 3x plus 1 over 3x squared minus 8x plus 1. If x is heading to infinity, the only thing that really matters when x is just enormous like this is these guys, and then it's 5/3.
Can you explain the absolute value?
So, like, where it comes from.
No, I get where it comes from.
Okay.
Why does that affect?
So if x were heading to negative infinity, say, what's the absolute value of something? Positive. This would be negative. Otherwise, it's the same thing, just a positive and a negative. So that would give us a negative 1. Because now you're doing a negative number divided by a positive of the same number. If it were x over x, if we like got rid of the square root entirely, and it was x squared over x squared plus 4, then it would be always 1, regardless of which infinity you're heading towards. Kayla? Yeah. Now you can do it with L'Hopital's rule because this is infinity over infinity. So let's back up and try again with infinity. With L'Hopital. What's the derivative of the numerator? 1. All right, that part's easy. What's the derivative of the denominator?
1/2.
So we have 1 over. Yeah, we might want to do that. Let's not. Yeah. So maybe this is why we want to do it the other way. If we plug in infinity, we have infinity over infinity again.
Wait.
Oh, it's a plus 1 instead of a plus 4?
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't really change anything.
Okay,
for
so
us.
I just said it.
No, it's fine.
Every single mistake.
I'm not
Oh no.
criticizing. I was just,
Okay.
you said if it makes a difference. I'm saying it doesn't, but it's good to have the right problem.
Okay.
So, can we just capture this instead of getting in
No,
those
I
meetings?
didn't mean that to
Yeah.
be a technical asshole.
I know. So, I wasn't meaning to be able. I'm willing to be. So, this thing is still kind of leading us into unsure. Like, we could flip it and make it root x squared plus 1 all over x. That hasn't really improved things. And if we try to just plug in infinity now, we have infinity over infinity underneath the 1. So we still don't know what this is. So I think this is the sort of thing where we need to reason it through the other way. Just kind of doing the thought experiment, like if x were going to get huge, then does the plus 1 really matter? Nah. So just disregard the plus 1 and pretend it's x over root x squared for x being enormous. what's the derivative of sine inverse? Hey! Over 1. Now, I'm assuming arc sine of 0 is 0, so we actually have to do the derivative.
No, it's actually 7. I saw it.
Okay, well, that's inconvenient. So, yeah, so now I gave you guys the chapter 5.6, 5.7 notes as we were kind of finishing up chapter 8.1. And the derivative of your inverse trig function over there. So, derivative of arc sine x is derivative of the inside over the square root of 1 minus the inside square. Oh, yeah. Okay. I think that's true.
What?
Like if it was like a 3x, if it was like a 3x, it would be 3 over the square root of 1 minus 9x squared. Because 3x squared is 9x squared. If I did, it was way back in like December.
Oh, then that might feel like reaches.
So I'm quite pleased with myself that we remembered this. And by we, I mean Michaela. So I'm quite pleased with myself that Michaela remembered this, but I'll take credit for that. So now you can plug 0 in, and you have 1 over 1 over 1. So this is 1.
You're missing.
All right. Now, the moment I've been trying to put off.
You're missing.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
Looking through the line, I was like,
So this thing, who's got the exponent?
The X.
The x, not the 3. So what can we do with the 3 right away?
Pull it out.
Get it out. So we can take the 3 out.
What?
It's not going to be affected by the limit. The 3 is a constant multiplier, and so you can take the constant multiplier outside of the limit.
you still have to do
Yeah, this was
Then,
Would the 3 go with the
But you didn't do that.
what I didn't, but I'm doing it now. So, what should I do with this whole limit?
ln?
Before that,
Y.
equals something, call it y, and then natural log both sides. So you have the natural log of
Wait, so would it be
3
3 natural log? Oh.
limit as x approaches 0 from the right of ugly.
Swap.
Now, before we swap, what's the 3 doing to the limit? Multiplying. And rules of logs say that if you're multiplying two things inside, you can break it apart into separate logs. And what are those separate logs doing? Adding. So that's where we get a natural log of 3 separate from the rest of this thing. And now swap the natural log and the limit that are here. And the rest of this time, the natural log of 3 is just going to be chilling. So natural log of 3, straight down. Meanwhile, all your work happens over here. So we have the limit as x approaches 0 from the right of the natural log of x. And what can we do with the exponent now? Bring it out in front of the log. And then, in order to evaluate this limit, instead of multiplying by x halves, we might want to do what? Instead of having like x over 2 times the natural log of x, this is still just going to be 0 times infinity. Let's turn this into division and say this is the natural log of x over 2x. 2x. And the natural log of y, along with that.
Well, no.
So now you can do L'Hopital, right? Because this is negative infinity over infinity. So you can L'Hopital this now. And yeah, natural log of 3. plus what's derivative of ln x, and what's the derivative of 2 over x? Yeah. And then you can rewrite that as 1 over x times x squared over negative 2. So ln of 3, and then this is negative x over 2. I don't. And I'm getting very diagonal also. But this isn't wrong, is it?
No.
Okay. And I forgot we're doing a limit, so plus limit, and x equals 0 on the right. So what does this limit turn out to be? 0. So we have natural log of 3 plus 0. And this is the natural log of y. So e both sides to solve y, because at the very beginning, we defined y as the original limit we want to solve. So you e both sides, and you have y equals 3. There's the limit.
You have to use both sides for that, or can you just look at it?
You can just look at it and say, it's obviously 3. No.
I don't remember being there.
No, that's why I did.
No.
So 0 to the right would be infinity now. And then so you can do negative infinity over 2,
Here,
right? I don't know. Yeah.
0 from the right, x is going to 0. This now becomes 0 over 2. Yeah.
Wait.
Go over think of it now.
So then at what point does the 0 from the right become
If it were 2 over 0. And it's 2 divided by 0 from the right. 2 divided by 0 is infinity. You're coming in 0 from the right, so you're going to plus infinity. Kind of like what we had here. Like this was 2 over 0. So this was infinity. Natural log of 0 from the right is negative infinity. So minus infinity over plus infinity. So that's where we did L'Hopital's rule and got this thing. I forgot the limit part of it. And then you cleaned it up some more, did the limit as x approaches 0. Hey, it works! We're left with the natural log of 3, and you e to get y. Ugh.
Okay, I'm done with you.
All right, so
Do you want to do 59 as well?
not especially,
I would like to wait for
because we did that already.
Yesterday, right?
So, the take-home quiz that I gave out yesterday is due on Friday
by 3.
by 3 o'clock. I would like it in person if you're here in person on Friday. No. You have a FF prime, F double prime packet that I gave you last Wednesday, so you've had that for a week now. That's also due Friday. Hopefully you took me up on do like 1 or 2 pages a day, so you're not like left with all of it to do tomorrow. And then we need to start reviewing for the AP exam. So I have an AP exam for you to do over the break. Now, please listen. When should you do the AP exam over the break?
Sunday night.
Not Sunday night and not right at the beginning. I don't want you to do the whole thing at once.
What?
I don't want you to do the whole thing at once. Because yuck. Because this thing is supposed to, like when you sit to take the real AP exam, this part is a half hour,
So I should,
and this part is an hour,
so I should sit for a half hour.
and this part is a half hour.
It goes the whole way.
Yeah, and this part is 45 minutes.
Oh.
So that's,
This is like one part.
Wait,
Maybe
whoa,
like
how many
the
parts are
hour.
in the AP exam?
there's 4. So there's 2 free response parts. One is calculator, one is non-calculator. And then there's 2 multiple choice parts. One is calculator and one is not calculator. The free response parts. So like all this together, like your AP exam will be 3 hours and 15 minutes when you sit to take it, plus like breaks in between sections, because like after a section you need a breather, and at some point maybe you'll even need to go pee. So it's not going to be like 3 1/4 hours. Just go, boom. You're in at 7. You're out at 10:15. I'm not allowed to be in there. I will come and see you guys at the beginning and then I have to leave. I'm not allowed to stick around.
Can you bring us snacks?
Yeah.
Make us cookies.
Yes, I like that. I think that's a good idea. So I'm happy to like bring you guys cookies. You can come here before the exam. I'll give you guys. I'll try to remember. So that is, I think that's an excellent idea. So I think I'll try to remember to do that. So what I want you to do over the break is, I don't even necessarily want you to do an entire section at a time. There's 4 sections, and you have Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 9 days. Now, I always take Sundays off. I don't do schoolwork on Sundays. So 7 days if you're like me. So do like half a section a day. Time yourself. You have the recommended time as to like what you would have on the real thing. Now, this is the first one you're doing. So are you likely to do the whole thing in the allotted time the first time through? Probably not. Are you going to have things that are like, I don't remember how to do that? Yes, you're going to have that happen. That's okay. We'll go over it when we come back from break. But I want you to have just like a first take on it over the break where you have basically unlimited time and no other assignments for me. I don't know what you have for other classes, but screw those. And yeah, now if you don't have a graphing calculator, okay, you just need to get batteries.
Bro, it's been a month.
Do I happen to have batteries? Here, these are yours. I hope they're the right batteries. Yeah, if they're the wrong batteries, too bad. But I think, I don't know what Casio does. Casio's weird. So if you don't have a graphing calculator, I mean, you will need it for the calculator parts. Not on every question. So like there's some stuff on the calculator part that you don't need a calculator and you can't even use a calculator. What? I didn't know what was in there. I'm sorry. So at least you only have to get 2 batteries now.
It'll come in back to 2, of course.
And they don't come in packs of 2. So I'm going to hand this out now just so you have it. And if I don't see you later on this week, you can't say, oh, I never got it. And those of you online, I posted it in the folder at the bottom of this week. So there's a yellow folder at the end of this week's folder, and all these parts are there for you. Sam?
Is this handed in for like free?
I think when we get back, I'm going to collect it. I haven't decided what it's going to be in terms of like how I'm going to grade it, because it's like a first run through. I'm not going to grade it like super strictly. The other thing you got to remember is 50% is a good score. If you get 50% of everything right, you're getting a 3, maybe a 4. Because the way it works is each FRQ is 9 points, and there's 6 of them, so you get 54 points potentially from FRQs. There's 45 multiple choice questions. You get 1 point for each of those. But then every year, there's a multiplier to the multiple choice questions. So your score is your number of multiple choice questions correct times 1 point something plus your FRQ points out of 108, because there's 109 total points available. And then let me go look at it. But like the breakdown of how many points you need for 5 or 4 or 3, I have that with this. This particular exam, you multiplied your multiple choice by 1.2, and then added all your free response. You needed 71 out of 108 total points to get a 5. Like that's less than a 70%. So 71 out of 108 was a 65%. That's after you've multiplied your multiple choice by like 1.2. To get a 3, you only needed to get 44 out of 108. That's a 41%. That's after multiplying the multiple choice by some 1.2 constant. So the actual number of problems or points that you're getting correct is actually less than 41% to get a 3. On this, now it's a little bit different for each test. So every year, what they multiply the multiple choice by to get your weighted score is a little bit different, but that kind of gives you a ballpark. So if you're getting 50% exactly of just like your raw score without the multiplier, you're definitely getting a 3, and you might be getting a 4. So 50% is a good score. And even 40% is probably a 3. So when you struggle, don't get discouraged. For a 4 on this test, it was a 59. 59 out of 108. So that was a 55%. And that's after the multiplier. So actual score, like actual raw score, number of points out of total available was less than 55% to get a 4. 71 out of 108 is a 65% to get a 5.
Hard to do.
Well, I mean, not everybody gets 5s,
Well, yeah.
but yeah, it's a hard test. Now, I did this test already over the last 2 days. I got one multiple choice question wrong because I can't read, and I got one part of an FRQ wrong because I can't read, and then I lost another point on another FRQ because. So of course I got a 5. I better get a 5. I'm your teacher. Like if I'm not getting a 5, what is like? So. Yeah, I did it. So like, can I do this? Yes, I can. Okay, cool. I deserve to be teaching this class. And it took me way less than the time that you're going to take. And less than the time that's allotted. So I wrote on my keys, I don't have them right in front of me, but on the different parts, like if a part was supposed to take an hour, it took me like 20 to 30 minutes. So when you take the exam for real on the multiple choice, at the very end, just guess if you have anything left to finish. Like, don't leave anything blank. From last year, I'm not going to really count for obvious reasons. I consider this my first real AP class because the last 2 years got blown up by COVID at the end, and then like last year wasn't real school. Like last year I didn't have any 5s, but also my best students didn't take these. Who's the best student? Probably Ume Sadiqua. Oh, she got a 5 for me on stat, and Josh Charles got a 5 for me on stat. He also didn't take the calc exam last year. So Nafis Chowdhury, you guys know him? Yeah. He was one of my best students. He didn't take the exam last year. Well, Ume made sense. Like Ume was going to Penn, and Penn is snooty because they're Ivy League, and so they don't take the AB exam. They only accept the BC because we reviewed that on insurance. Yeah, I was going to give you all of them right now.
And
I think they're all good. Yeah.
Wait, they're all two? I thought their part 1 was. Well,
Tasneem Sadiq. That's your other FRQ part.
Oh.
His director, I think you can make like part 1 and 2 now.
I don't know where Josh went. Josh moved.
Did
Yeah.
he?
And then what? So those are the FRQ sections. Here are the multiple choice sections. Now the multiple choice is like such a thick package because they only put 1 or 2 problems per page.
That's what he wants.
So this thing I'm holding out now is only 15 questions.
But how long is it? 15 questions? Please put your final in.
So Edgar,
Yes.
you said 50% for 3.
Yeah.
So is there like the majority of the test like one topic? Is there something like that? Like 10% will be like something type of 1.
Yeah. So part of what we're going to do starting tomorrow is like go through AP style college, go through what's available on the College Board website that I haven't used all year. It's a horrible website, but there's good stuff on it. So I'm trying to avoid using it as much as possible, but I should show you what is there, and I put links to it in the school review. And also talk about like what's the breakdown of different topics on the test.
But should we be focusing on topics compared to others? Like would that be more beneficial than learning?
Yeah, probably. So this exam will also give you a flavor of like what you can expect in terms of like what are you going to see. So if you go to like the very first question on the thing I just gave you,
Part A.
yeah, so part A, the thing with A is all across the top. Let's just look at that. And this is in today's folder, in this folder for this week on Schoology. So if you look at this thing here with all the A's, the thickest packet, so number one is just, here's a function, what's its derivative? Chain rule. Number two, here's an integral, just do it. So it works from, I think on the whole, easier to more difficult. It's not like a straight, like 1 is the easiest, 30 is the most difficult, but they front end the easier things is what it seemed like to me as I was doing this.
Are you able to view old like old test times? Like, because they don't release the previous 4 years with
They released the FRQs.
So can you see the whole test? And then can we check if it's like actually easy hard?
Well, this is a practice exam that they've released.
So this
This is from the College Board. This is one of their practice exams. So I would like for us to, over the course of the next 4 weeks, like we have, our test date is May 9th. We have 33 days. So over the next 33 days, I'd like for us to work through at least 2 or 3 exams. So I'm thinking that when we come back from break, a normal class will be, hey, come in, here's like 5 multiple choice questions, take 15 minutes. Because if you can do 5 in 15 minutes and it's calculator, that's what it should be. And then we can talk about it for the other half of the class. Or come in, here's an FRQ, 15 minutes with an FRQ, and then we'll talk about it for the other half of the class. Yeah. Yeah, I think probably we're having more time to review than a lot of AP classes. Would be my guess. I think if we have a month to review, we're in pretty good shape. Well, this is the first time I'm doing this as a teacher, so no, I'm not really confident about anything, but I'm feeling pretty good about where we're at right now. Yeah, I know. The flex thing really throws a wrench and stuff. I don't like that, but given the fact that we have a month.
So when you don't fail, you can blame it on flex.
Can we have an after school AP club where you just teach us AP?
I could do that a couple days a week, yeah. I mean, I have to run it by wife, because she needs me to get home to like help with kids at a certain point. But yeah, I could stay to like 3:30 on 1 day a week or 2 days a week to do that, especially like the week before the AP exam for sure. Please hand in the homework before I forget to take those off your hands. Sam?
So are all of these students when we come back from spring break?
That's what I have in mind.
All of that is one exam.
Okay, and you want us to do it all over spring break?
Yes.
Our spring break,
Yes.
that we're supposed to have time off to learn.
Does it make, no, you're not learning, you're just reviewing.
Mental break.
It's also this spring break must be
You
If I
gotta
can't eat unleavened bread, I am not doing that.
just eat potato chips, they're not loving. I don't think they are. Yeah, that's actually like delicious. Have you tried that?
Oh, no bread.
Well, yeah, the chips are the bread.
Yeah.
So you put like cheese and meat in between the potato chips, and then you eat it, and then it just like falls apart. Well, then you like lick up the crumbs off your plate, and you're fine. All right, so let's look at B. We got last 8 minutes here. Let's start looking at B together.
Be what?
B.
There's 2 B's.
So that's what it says across the top. Because
Well, what's the point of that?
it's a fun noise to make. You do it.
No,
Yes, it's fun. Then you'll understand why.
it's absolutely not.
Was it better if we go like?
What are we doing?
Is that better? This recording might not need to go up on the
Mr. Edgar.
Oh, are there literally two B's?
Yeah,
Because
because
there's
one
a-
of them goes across the top and the other one doesn't.
The big B's.
Section 1, part B, guys.
Yeah, section 1, part B. Armand, what are you having Isan do to your neck?
He's trying to lock me up.
With his phone. Is it a razor?
I'm making fun of it.
Mr. Edgar, would you ever grow a beard?
Yeah.
Can you do it for us?
Uh,
Do it. Do
I
it.
would not do that for you, no.
Oh, wait, wait. That's not what I meant.
Because that is a weird
No,
request.
that's not.
I used to have a beard, and then it fell out.
What do you think?
Then I shaved it. So,
Oh.
and then my wife was like, "Yeah, actually, just don't grow that back." I
Can
said,
you grow that?
Oh, okay.
Can you grow that?
Grow
I am
beard
able to grow it
and
back.
you put on the
Can you
AP
grow-
gown.
Wait, when I come
Just
back,
for
like,
flex.
from college, I want you to have, like, a stand-up.
Grow whatever beard
I'm
you
not.
want.
I'm not that good at growing facial hair. Sorry.
Okay, try harder.
Try harder.
Okay, by the AP,
Yeah.
like, by the time the AP test comes
Like
out.
start giving myself pep talks in the mirror every morning. Grow hairs. All right. Go to the first page of part and look at number 76 because they're starting at 76 instead of number 1 because
Part B.
I have no idea why because there are not that many questions actually.
Well, part A starts at 1.
I know. Part A starts at 1 and goes 1 to 30, and then part B goes from 76 to 90 because that makes sense.
That's how you count.
So this is the calculator section. As you're doing this, please pay attention to, is it a calculator section or not? What are you looking at?
Graph.
A graph of F. This is the sort of thing I got wrong when I got a wrong question. I was looking at a graph of F, and then it was like, which of these is the graph of the antiderivative? And I found the derivative. So we're looking at the graph of F, and then we're being asked about what? Cool. And specifically F prime at -2, 0, and 3. So this is just compare those things to each other. So let's look at F prime of -2. People at home, are you able to see this on your own so I don't have to like copy the whole thing up on the board?
It's recording.
Yeah. This is Practices AP exam number 1. Calculator multiple choice questions is what we're looking at. So what's F prime of -2? Positive, negative, or 0? What's F prime of 0? Positive, negative, or 0? What's F prime of 3? Positive, negative, or 0? So which answer? So which is it? D. So smallest, middle, biggest. Right? So they're listing things from least to greatest because those are less than signs. So you want the smallest dude going first. So that's D. Did we actually need a calculator? No. So not everything on the calculator part needs a calculator. Not everything on the calculator part is even like doable with a calculator. I don't know how a calculator would help you there. So there's like first thing on the calculator section. What the hell? How? There's no there's no equation given. So like, yeah, you can use the calculator to get the derivative, and I'm going to show you guys how to do all that over the next month as well. No. Yeah. Yeah. So you say, oh, the curve is decreasing there, so F prime is to be negative. All right, 77. In my mind, drastically ramps up the difficulty from 76. I thought 76 was pretty straightforward, and 77 was for me, as I did this, skip and come back to it. So, we're told h of 5 equals pi. That thing. So we want h of 2. And then how do we set this up? So h prime of x equals, yes.
Wait, no.
Yeah.
If it's h
No,
of
you're right.
x, let h of x be an antiderivative.
Yeah, it's
Right.
So you're absolutely right. So h prime is an antiderivative of this thing. So that means h prime is this thing. Because h is an antiderivative of it. So this is part of the problem is words and just reading it is just they phrase things in like really awkward ways. It's like, let's think of all the immigrants taking this test and screw them with like really awkward English. Yes.
Explain
What?
why it's h over.
Why is this h prime? So if h is an antiderivative of this thing,
Okay, never mind. We're good.
then the derivative of an antiderivative is the
I
derivative.
have a proposal of how we can do this.
Yes.
Find the integral of that, and then plug in y for x, and then pi for y. We have to count it, and then pi c, and then down to 2, and then we plug in 2. You get what I'm saying? At the end.
So do you want to actually like get the
Yeah.
equation for this guy's integral?
Yeah, is that not what we were? Is that not doable?
Well,
I thought that was how to do it.
look at this equation.
I
Are we going to integrate this successfully?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
This is
Absolutely.
so. This is absolutely a calculator problem.
I say, wait, why is that not?
You
It's a
work
waste
on
of
that.
Why is that not?
Because it's a waste of time. You
So how would you go about integrating
Separate them
this?
into 2.
Set them up into two.
Separate into 2, and then so u equals x squared plus 2.
Uh-huh.
And then so the x.
So separate it into two.
Yeah. Okay, and then so for the x cubed part of it, separate that into x times x squared. The derivative of x squared plus 2 would be 2x, right? So we can have the 2 in terms of 2, right?
It's a good 1 minute and 45 seconds.
Yeah, let's not do that. So this is not going to be something you want to integrate by hand. You have to use a calculator. So
Wait, why is it 2 to 5?
why do we do 2 to 5? I don't know. I told you this is one where I came back to it later. So you muddle through some things, and he's like, "This is worth skipping. We'll come back to it tomorrow." But I want you to see if you can figure this out for yourselves.
Would be accurate.
Yes.
Would it be x, not x, but a question mark to pi? Because or would it be?
So this is a first fundamental theorem of calculus problem. I remember that.
Can we just do one time that?
So what I also discovered doing it for myself is just because I can do a problem doesn't necessarily mean I can turn around and explain it real well. So I'll have to go get my answer keys out of the back and bring them out front tomorrow because these are hard, some of them. But they're not all like this because some of them are real easy, like 76 was. So you have your assignments that are due Friday, and I do feel badly about what I'm doing to you over spring break, but I want you all to do well, and that's more important to me. All right, is anybody going to see Zane?
I should. I'll see him in